is Jalen Rose.
What up, though?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together, we are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do, Mr. Rose?
We get it, people!
Yes! Yes! The people got what they wanted last night from the NBA. What a game it was in the Bay. The Houston Rockets traveled to the Warriors' home floor, and man, did they have a game. And the Beard had all of it. Here's a step back right over Kevin Durant to come back in the second half. Another step back. This one, he pushes Andre Iguodala out of the way, knocks that down. He had 10 threes in the game, including this one to win the game in overtime, tripping Draymond Green in the process and then staring at him to win the game. Jalen Rose, I truly feel like these Rockets are, again, the biggest threat to the Warriors as they try to march toward a third consecutive championship. Do you agree that the Rockets are the biggest threat to the Warriors in the Western Conference?
I see where you're going with that because Harden has been terrific and will continue to be as such. They're going to eventually get Chris Paul back. He's a guy that's going to play at an all-NBA level. And obviously, Clint Capella had 20 and 20 in last night's game. So I see where you're going. But that's the biggest theater out west is who's going to play against the Golden State Warriors in the conference finals. Denver has been terrific with Jokic and Murray. OKC has obviously Paul George emerging and career highs in multiple categories. Russ has been struggled shooting, but yet they're amongst the best teams defensively. So I could go down the line of giving teams why they could possibly be that squad. So I'm not necessarily mad at your choice, but mine on paper would probably be OKC right now.
And then there's also the Warriors. I mean, we all saw them get beat up by the Lakers at home on Christmas. Then they went to overtime and lost to the Trailblazers again at home. And last night they lost again in overtime at home. 3 straight home losses. It's been a tough stretch for the Warriors. Are you concerned about the Warriors, or are they just kind of lackadaisical and don't really try that hard?
I'm not concerned at all because they're going to get Boogie to perform on the basketball floor for them eventually. And he's going to make up for a lot of the weaknesses you see at that 5 spot where they're the least productive amongst the teams in the NBA at that position. He's going to fill in points in the paint, getting post-ups. He can make an open shot. He can play make. He can play mid-range. And so I'm not worried about the Warriors. They just look different. They're not the squad that can spread you out, and it seems like 4 or 5 guys that are making 40% of their threes. Clay is shooting 10% worse this year than he did last year. Draymond Green has had career worst in multiple shooting statistics, and they went from being a team that had 2 MVP level players in KD and Steph and 4 All-Stars to having 2 All-Stars. And so that dynamic has changed for their squad, but I still feel like they're the team to beat.
After the game, Steph Curry had this to say about the tough loss to the Rockets.
You guys were up 20 in the game, and they came all the way back in that third quarter. Is this a game you felt like you guys gave away?
For sure. When you have a lead like that, you don't lose at home. Tough way to, obviously James made a bunch of tough shots. They got the ball moving and hit a bunch of threes in the third quarter. They gave us some life. I don't know if it's slow rotations or just a little laziness with that lead, but again, you have a lead like that, it's a tough way to go out.
So, Jalen Rose, do you think it was slow rotations and laziness, or is it just James Harden is not
at all
at offense?
I think James Harden took that game on the road. And I'm going to continue to reiterate what I've said. I've seen a couple of people piggyback off of it and try to take bits and pieces of my analysis. But I'm going to stress, James Harden is the most unique offensive weapon that the NBA has seen. For a guy that has led the league in total points, total assists, free throws made, and 3-pointers made, there will not be another basketball player on that level to do that. Why? Because usually the guy that's going to lead the league in scoring and that can get you buckets, guys like old school Wilt Chamberlain, then you go to MJ, Kobe, AI, and now KD. Those guys wouldn't be in the conversation as it leading the league in assists. James Harden has done that. And the only other guys to do so, Tiny Archibald, which was in the 60s, and Russell Westbrook is in that conversation for total points and total assists. Now let's go to the anomaly. Usually the guy that's going to lead the league in three-pointers made, like a Steph Curry type of build, or a Reggie Miller, or a Ray Allen, or even a Larry Bird, isn't going to be the guy that's getting to the free throw line and taking the punishment of a Shaquille O'Neal or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Hakeem Olajuwon. And it's not just getting there, it's actually making them. So all of those things make him that, and that's why they got that big time win on the road, because of his elite level dominance.
Well, you're not the only one who thinks that he is an incredible offensive performer. The Houston Rockets GM Daryl Morey had this to say about James Harden. Quote, "You could argue for him as the best offensive player of all time. To be able to say that with a straight face and not have it be GM speak or coach speak, it's pretty amazing. There's a whole bunch of ways to measure it, but he is for sure in the conversation as the greatest offensive player ever." Jalen Rose, is that just GM speak, or is that a legit conversation right now?
No, I just distinguish why he deserves to be in the conversation. But if I'm going to just go with greatest offensive weapons of all time, that clearly has to be Wilt Chamberlain, who has his own record book, Michael Air Jeffrey Jordan with averaging 30 so many years, and his elite level dominance in the playoffs and in the finals as well. And so I understand how the distinction makes him unique because he's in the lead in the categories like I just talked about, but he can't be considered the greatest of all time offensively when those couple of players and a guy like Kobe Bryant has also performed at an elite level in the league.
Jalen Rose, I really want to look at this play because this was mind-boggling. Again, this is a crucial play at the end of the game. Look at Kevin Durant. He's out of bounds. He takes 3 steps out of bounds and then somehow saves the ball, and the refs don't even call it. Look at the time in the situation there. It's a tie game with 5 seconds left, and they allow Kevin Durant to take 3 steps out of bounds and then save the ball. How does this happen in the NBA? Explain that to me.
It exposes an issue with the replay system. You would think that that's something you could go back and, since it's not a judgment call, can actually update, almost like the officials do when somebody takes a jump shot from the three-point line. They go back and designate, was it an actual 2 or 3? To me, in an obvious scenario like this, you should also be able to do such. Now, for 3 officials to be on the floor, 6 eyeballs, and not be able to catch this is something that you're going to see the league come out and not only talking about missing this call, which we clearly know, but a level of discipline that's going to take place for those officials who clearly got this one wrong and almost cost the Houston Rockets a chance to win this game on the road if it wasn't for the heroics of one James Harden.
So Kevin Durant took 7 of the Warriors' 8 final shots and only made 1. What do you think about the Warriors becoming sort of like single focused on Durant at the end of games?
Well, when I talk about all-time great scorers, he belongs in that conversation. 50 from the floor, 40 from 3, 90 from the line. At 6'11", can shoot the 3, play from the post. He's a dynamic offensive player. But he joined a 73-win team that already had the Splash Brothers and the league's only unanimous MVP in Steph Curry. And there's a competitive spirit that takes place regardless of where you're competing. And everybody gets in the car with their loved ones after the game when whoever takes the last shot misses and says, the coach should have gave me the ball. I don't care if it was Michael Jordan. It doesn't matter who shot the last shot. And so this dynamic, A, shows the unselfishness of one Steph Curry, but B, how there may be an re-evaluation of how they run their offense late in games, in particular when Boogie returns, because Steph has to be a guy that they look to get the ball to more in those situations.
Right now, it's time for News That Matters. Jalen Rose, the Dura High School team in Missouri, is a good team. They win games. They won a tournament recently because 3 of their starting 5 are triplets. It helps a lot with team chemistry. However, there is some video circulating on the internet during which one triplet gets fouled and then a second triplet takes the free throws. Jalen, do you think this team should be punished? Do you think it's a soft move or a boss move to switch out triplets in the middle of a game?
I think this is a boss move. Anytime you triplets, you can't tell me that that's the first and only time they've been swapped out in one way, shape, or form from one another. Probably have done it in school, whether it relates to classes or test taking. No question, if you're trying to do it in a basketball game, you've done it off wax. However, I have to question the fact that weren't they wearing numbers? Did they not realize that somebody can tell that one guy wearing a certain number got fouled and another guy
did it?
who didn't get fouled went to the free throw line, and 3 of the guys are triplets of the 5 on the floor?
One of my big questions about this is, if you're a triplet, how are you going to let your brother be so much of a better free throw shooter than you that you switch out during the game? Like, I would never, ever, ever play on a basketball team and allow my triplet brother to be that much better at free throws than me, that the coach actually swaps us out. Like, come on now. Whichever triplet that is that can't shoot free throws, you need to get in the gym, man. You need to get in the gym. You cannot be getting swapped out like that.
You know what this really showed me, and it gave me a visual that everybody can appreciate. It made me imagine if LeVar Ball had triplets. Oh, man, the world would be a better place.
Well, LeVar Ball might still have triplets. Who knows? Coming up next on Jalen and Jacoby, we're going to break down the big games this weekend in the NFL Wild Card Weekend.